What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Donald Robinson, Grammy nominated producer, who is here to share with you another episode of my Tuesday nights. Actually, I got it in. I said to myself, I'm going to be dedicated to get this in every Tuesday. And this Tuesday night is kind of late, but I said I'm going to get it in. So I'm going to make sure I get this out on Tuesday before 12 midnight. You will have this video. All right. So today's theme is how important is lyrics? Does lyrics really matter? Last week I did um, a Tuesday night episode on does the not lyrics, but does the length of a song really matter? So tonight I'm doing does lyrics really matter? And the answer is yes, they do. Lyrics are so important. And as a producer, when I listen to songs and people write songs and they send them in to me, one of the things I really listen to is the lyrics. Is the song really compelling? That's so important. Is the story really interesting? And do I think people are really going to get the song within 5 minutes, going back to the length, by listening to the lyrics? Is it going to really tell a full story? I think that's kind of missing in today's music today also, that we don't have enough lyrics that really is compelling and tell a story. So that's the number one thing. Having a compelling story, how important is that? It's so important. If you really want a song that's going to stand the test of time and last, you have to have a story that's really compelling. And one of the subjects that you'll find over and over again in lyrics is love. Why? Because everybody can relate to love in one way or another, either love that was unfulfilled, or romantic love, or brotherly love, or just loving your friends. When you think of gospel music, the love of God, the love of Christ, love is just everything. So, we're going to talk about a song that talks about love. We're going to analyze it a little bit and talk about three things that I think is so important. So the first one is, again, a compelling story. Make sure that your songs, that you're really thinking about a song that really, it could be in the title, something about that song is really compelling. That's going to grab your audience attention. But sometimes I think we just throw things together and it's just the title doesn't really leave room for you to think about, what is that song about? Or it's just catchy enough. So let's think about some titles on the subject of love. We have Love's in Need of Love Today, Love Don't Live Here Anymore, Rolls Royce, and Rocket Love, Stevie Wonder song, which is one of my favorite songs, not just lyrically, but musically and his voice. Those three things are so important when you're talking about a song also. Having great lyrics, having a great voice, and having great music. So I think that's the song I want to analyze today is Rocket Love. Now, when I think of the title of Rocket Love, when you Rocket Love, it's kind of compelling because you don't really know what the song is talking about. You know it's talking about love, but what does he mean by rocket love? So it already grabs your attention right from the beginning, from the title. And to me, it's compelling because when you think of rocket, you think of something that's shooting off. So you kind of get an idea. So let me just pull it up. I'm going to pull up a song and I'm going to go through these points as we look at Stevie Wonder's song, Rocket Love. Let me share my screen with you and see if I can pull this up here. Yeah, I think I got it right here. Let's see. Um, I hope you're seeing this. Yeah, you should be seeing this. Okay. So, Rocket Love. Again, I think the title is compelling enough because when you read the title, you kind of get an idea of what he's talking about. But then again, you're like, ah, that's a pretty interesting title. But when you hear the words, then it really comes to life. So the next thing I was going to talk about when you're writing a song is first telling a compelling story or coming up with a compelling title. And the second thing is stick with the theme of the song. That's another thing I think that happens with a lot of songs. I think the songs go way off track because the writer may be just really, you say they're singing a love song and somebody really did them wrong. Well, sometimes they're all over the place. You know, they may be singing a song about, I can't believe you treated me this way. Why did you do this to me? And I thought I was your friend. And then you were talking to this girl I knew, and she was my friend. And I heard y'all went out to dinner. See, that's kind of all over the place. All right. So you want to make sure when you're writing a song that you stick to the theme. Also, sticking to the theme can mean that the song is not so sad and down that by the time people get to the end of the song, it's almost like you're having a conversation that you're just like, woo, okay, 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 enough, enough. But people also want to hear hope. They want to hear something that you may have learned from that experience. And a lot of songs sometimes have that in it where it may be down, but then it picks up or that person learned something from it. I Will Survive, you know, it's a perfect song. And I think that's why it's such an anthem song because it was one of those songs where the person talked about how they was petrified and they were hurt, but then they also talked about how they grew from that. I Will Survive. So many people can relate to that, and we know there's a lot of songs. Again, it's universal enough, it's compelling enough that everybody can relate to it. There's plenty of songs, I Will Survive, that talks about when you're down and getting back up. People love a compelling story. Now, so we talked about having a compelling story. We talked about taking a theme of a song and making sure you stick to that theme. And I think Stevie Wonder does a great job with that when I look at this song. First, he tells the story and he talks about, you know, going back into the past. I longed for you since I was born, a woman sensitive and warm. And there you were, with pride and strength no one would test, but yet had female feminine finesse, and so much more. And then he goes into the story, which repeats over and over. That's another thing. You got to have that thing that people can sing over and over. And here it is here. You took me riding in your rocket, gave me a star, but at a half a mile from heaven, you dropped me back down to this cold world. And he repeats that again. You took me riding in your rocket and gave me a star, but at a half a mile from heaven, you dropped me back down into this cold world. Now, if you can't get the story right there, without going any farther, you get the whole theme of the song. He's talking about a woman that he longed for, and he's talking about how she was beautiful. He talks about how she took him up in this rocket, and he was just so happy. She gave him a star, and then she dropped him back down to this cold world. And the music and his vocals just fit that theme so well. And he just goes on. I'm not going to go through all the lyrics, but he, you know, then he goes to the next verse, a female Shakespeare of your time. And he has these string lines that's just beautiful. With looks to blow Picasso's mind, you were the best. So then he talks about how she looked. So the first verse, still in the theme, he talks about what he longed for. And then he talks about what she looks like and how she moved and how she made him feel, like symphonies by Bach or Brahms. But again, you took me riding on this rocket and gave me a star, but a half a mile from heaven, you dropped me back down to this cold world. Then he has this beautiful melody that he sings, and he goes into how now he talked about how he met her, he talked about how she looked, and then he goes into third verse. He's still sticking with the theme. He's just telling you a story about how she made him feel. And then he goes into where did it go? Just why that you would overnight turn love to stone as cold as ice. I'll never know. So again, sticking with the theme. And if you haven't heard the song, please take a listen to it. Stevie Wonder's Rocket Love, which is a great song. But I'm not going to get too much more into it. The last thing that I want to talk about is being too wordy. Now, if you look at it, the words are pretty straightforward. It's simple. It's not a lot, but the story comes across. And by the time the record goes off, you want to put it on again. Okay. He's not crying. He's just basically stating, hey, I can't believe you did this to me. But he doesn't go off theme and talk about Venus or Mars or Pluto or any other planets. He just basically stays on that theme about rocket love, how it made him feel. So again, it's so important that first you tell a compelling story, two, stick through the theme, and the last one is do not be too wordy, okay? Some words you really don't need. I hear a lot of songs and they have a lot of pronouns in them. If and they say the same words over and over, that you really don't need. You can take those words out. So let me think of an example. Let's see. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. But for example, someone might say, and you made me feel great, and you made me feel good, and you made me feel like heaven. You don't have to say and all of those times. All right. If you were there for me, and if you could do this, and if you could do that, you could just say, you made me feel great, like heaven. And I wish you were there for me. You can put the N at the end. You don't need to put so many words into a song because what happens is it just kind of takes away the flow of the song. And you don't want that to happen. You want a song where you hear it, you got 3 to 5 minutes where we talked about the length. When it's off, you want to say, wow, I want to hear that again. So these are the tips that you need. Again, one, tell a compelling story. Two, stick with the theme. Okay, your theme could be your why, when, where. Think of it that way. But stick with the theme. Don't go off track and start talking about everything else. It's like a conversation. If you're talking with a person one on one, and sometimes you talk to these people and they tell you the story, but then they get distracted and they go off track and start talking about somebody else, something else, and then you're like, what in the world are they talking about? There's too many things going on, so it's hard for you to stay focused when you're writing a song. A good tip for you to do is actually talk the song back. Think of it as a conversation when you're writing your lyrics, almost to the point where if when I look at the Stevie Wonder song, I don't really need to hear the words. I get everything he's saying. I'm sorry, I don't need to hear the music. I get everything he's saying through the lyrics, through his words. It really comes across. And it could be almost spoken in a conversation where I would get it 100%, even if it wasn't sang. I think sometimes people, they write songs and they try to make them too poetic. And what comes across is, oh, well, I meant this. And, if you just really dig in deep enough, you'll understand what I'm talking about. A song is not a poem. Okay, that's one thing we need to get to. A song is not a poem. Okay, but the poem is in a book. People can read it over and over. With the song, you want them to get that within 5 minutes. So when you think of a song, you want to think of something that's going to catch their ear right away. And when they take it off, they want to hear it again because it was something so compelling about that song. The lyrics just stayed in a place that had you focused on what they were talking about. And it wasn't all over the place. It wasn't too wordy. If you can get those three things together, analyze your music, look at it, analyze your lyrics, look at it, make sure it's where you want it to be. I'm telling you, you're going to be a much, much better writer just by doing those three things. A compelling story, stick to your theme, and don't make your words too wordy. All right. Please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I really want to try to build that up. And again, like I said, I promised that I was going to do this. I made a decision to do this for you every Tuesday, and that's what I'm going to do. So if you don't hear from me or I'm going off track, hold me accountable and hit me up and say, hey, Donald, what happened to the next theme? I didn't hear anything in a while. I'll appreciate that, and I'll get it to you. Take care and God bless. Talk to you soon.